I love Sonic Adventure. Not ironically, not, oh, I used to hate it and now in this retrospective I realize it's genius. No. I grew up with this game. Way back on the Sega Dreamcast even. I have so much love and nostalgia for it that it might just be my favorite game of all time. Now, the Sonic franchise in general is easy to shit on. That's been popular for a long time, and for some good reasons.
You know, Blaze, you ever stop and think about how this is really...
all the time.
But Sonic Adventure is a masterpiece. The massive achievement that the devs made in the leap from 2D to 3D was something that really had no blueprint at the time. The level design, the soundtrack, come on! Sure, it has some 90s goofiness. I mean, this voice acting.
Watch out! You're gonna crash! Ah!
Oh no! Oh no! Give it your... Oh no!
But it's incredible. However, there is one thing about this game that has always been pretty universally hated.
Froggy, where are you?
Big the Cat's fishing levels. The stages take too long. The controls and the mechanics are janky as hell. In a franchise that's all about speed, it feels wildly out of place, and people always dread having to slog through it, which, by the way, is required in order to unlock the final story and beat the main game. It's a big purple blemish on this otherwise great game. If we were rating it, it would probably be 1 out of 5 froggies. Yeah, not great. I love Sega Bass Fishing. Not ironically, blah blah blah, way back on the Dreamcast, I'm old, you get it. The over-the-top announcer, the color palette, that 90s arcade feel, the commentary for each size of fish that you catch, which feels just a little bit suggestive.
This one's huge.
Okay, an average size. Oh no!
But by far, the best thing about this game is the controller, the Dreamcast fishing rod. It really brings the arcade experience right to your living room, or maybe your mom's basement. You can use it on Sega Bass Fishing 1 and 2, Sega Marine Fishing, and even on Soul Calibur and Virtua Tennis. How cool is that? 5 out of 5 froggies, easy. For the game and the controller. That's 10 whole froggies. So let's see if this bad boy makes big fishing levels feel any better.
Hey, I'm kind of hungry.
Okay, fine. So the motion controls don't work. Have to cast it with the regular buttons. Let's see. I'm gonna try that again. What do you mean? Why the fuck does this not work? Why would they make a whole character with only fishing levels and not make it compatible with the fishing rod controller? Maybe the fishing rod controller came out after Sonic Adventure 1? Okay, no. Sega Bass Fishing came out in Japan 5 months before the Dreamcast launched in North America, and although the Japanese version of Sega Bass Fishing did come out after the Japanese version of Sonic Adventure, they were likely in development around the same time. And the original arcade version of Sega Bass Fishing came out almost an entire year before the Dreamcast came out anywhere. I just do not understand. This is bullshit. 0 out of 5 froggies. Big's fishing levels feel so out of place gameplay-wise with the rest of Sonic Adventure that you would think it was made specifically for the fishing rod controller. You know how devs kind of like to shoehorn in gameplay gimmicks just to show off some cool new hardware for a console's launch? It feels like that. So why? Why did they do this? And more importantly, what can we do to right this wrong? Technically, the fishing rod controller works for any Dreamcast game. I can just use the fishing rod and mash the buttons. Yeah, this is not doing it for me. I need that tactical reeling action. Now my console is modded with Blue Retro, so that does open up some options. I looked at some other fishing-specific controllers for the Wii, Xbox 360, but most of these are wired and/or designed to work with very specific games, so the inputs wouldn't match up. Then I stumbled across this, Ace Angler for the Nintendo Switch. It comes with this cool peripheral that attaches to Joy-Cons, and it lets you use it like a little fishing rod. Okay, this is giving me Sega Bass Fishing vibes. So, let's sync up my Joy-Con and fire it up. Hi, Editing Jordan here. I wanted to keep the full clip in so that you could see how long it actually takes to catch Froggy with this setup. However, after watching the footage, it was just too long. So I'm going to speed through this, but I will tell you that it took 1 minute and 35 seconds from the time that I hooked him to catching him. Oh shit, I didn't mean to move it away from me that much. Okay, this is it, come on. My boy, my son! This is the one! Come on, Froggy, please. Yes! Yes! That's what we call big fishing right there. Definitely gonna end up cutting that part out.
Maybe next time.
Maybe next time. Man, blow it out your ass, Big. Okay, so there it is. At long, long last, my childhood dream of playing Big the Cat's levels with an actual fishing rod controller. I would say the only thing holding it back from being 5 Froggies is the fact that the reeling is a little bit slow. The game is expecting more held button presses than tapping button presses, so yeah, it does take longer. But the immersion adds so much that I would give this a solid 4 out of 5 Froggies. That's all for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Except, I don't know, this doesn't feel quite right. Yeah, technically, it is a fishing rod controller, and I'm playing Sonic Adventure with it, but it's not the fishing rod controller. It's not the dream that I set out to accomplish, which means I head back to the drawing board, and the new solution will not be anywhere near as easy as this. Hooray! Okay, so how do we make this work? Well, if I knew how to code, I would mod the game to accept input from the reel. But I'm not learning how to code for this. I wish. Should I rip the guts out and pad hack a totally different controller inside? That seems like a lot of work. But looking back at the Ace Angler controller, the design is really brilliant. Maybe I can reverse engineer this same mechanism. Okay, turns out not only is this over my skill level, but I also broke this while trying to get down to every last mechanism, so time to buy another one from eBay, a knockoff by the way, because the Angler is out of stock, and wait several weeks for it to arrive. Fine, let's try take 2, using the actual Angler itself. It doesn't quite fit on the existing buttons of the controller, and even if it did, the angle isn't great. I just really wish there were a button right on the side here. Well, I guess I'm going to make one. First, I'll take apart the fishing rod, then solder on a simple tactile switch stolen from a scrap controller board, then drill a hole in the shell to make the button accessible. Next, I'll have to file down part of the shell in order to make the Angler fit. Not to mention cutting a huge hole in the side of the fishing rod for the Angler to slot into. Okay, because I am the master of doing everything off camera, I used my soldering iron to, quote, plastic weld this reel to the controller. I mean, to say that this is plastic welded is generous. And just for style points, let's attach the original handle from the Dreamcast rod, just to make it a little more authentic. Okay. Yeah, I definitely called it earlier. That was a ton of work. And now, time to see if it was actually worth it. Does it work? Okay, whew, at least the actual reel does register as a button press. But the real test is, can I catch something? And can I catch Froggy?
Not too bad.
Not too bad. You're damn right. And there you have it. For the second time, even with the slower reeling, I think that having the original Dreamcast fishing rod wired working on original hardware, that cool factor for me pushes it all the way up to 5 out of 5 Froggies. It feels so good to actually have a way to go fishing with Big that actually feels right and fun. Well, take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Except... Okay, hear me out. I am really happy with this result. I have the original Dreamcast fishing rod working on original hardware, and I'm really proud of that. But it got me thinking, could I go even further? Could I make a controller to surpass the Dreamcast fishing rod? This is the kind of greed they talk about in the Bible. I mean, what would even be my criteria for this? What could be better than this? A real fishing rod? God damn it. Okay, fine. A real fishing rod. As a controller. A trip to Goodwill, and $5 later, we've got one. Now what? I guess bringing it back to the basics of what a controller is in any shape, it's just circuits on a board with buttons that join those circuits together. So I could just slap some buttons on this thing, but then I do need to figure out how to make it a functioning controller. I could pat hack an existing controller, but it would have to be something super small. I could use an Arduino or some other microcontroller, something I'll probably use in a future project anyway. That will require a lot of soldering and some programming. Now, programming the buttons isn't too bad. There are plenty of great tutorials online, but I want gyro controls, which is pretty niche. To work around actual programming for that, I'd need to map the controls in some software like Rewazd. Well, I found someone online saying that Rewazd only lets you remap gyro for DualShock 4, Switch Pro controllers, and Joy-Cons. So I guess Joy-Cons it is. Once my Joy-Con is connected, I'll open up the Advanced Gyro menu. I changed the dead zone here to be pretty big, because it kept registering really small movements by accident. Here I'm mapping a downward flicking motion to now act like I'm pressing the B button, which usually casts the line out. And it holds the button down for a few seconds so that I can position when I'm casting. Next, I've got the upward flick mapped to hook the fish on the line, which for some reason is usually done by pressing down on the analog stick. This is way better. Much more Sega Bass Fishing-like. Then I made it so that leaning side to side, or in my case jerking the fishing rod, will move the line back and forth, again taking the place of what's normally done by the analog stick. And this last thing might be a little bit cheap, but since this reel is extra slow and extra arduous, I made every button press, which is a full rotation of the actual fishing reel that I'm using, hold the A button down for about a full second, just so it more accurately matches the physical motions that I'm doing. If you think that's cheating, well, I'm already using remapping software. I did try it without that first, and it was brutal. I could not catch anything. So I'm happy to tweak the design a little bit, since I am going for the Dream Big the Cat fishing rod after all. With all the software out of the way, we are now stuck at the problem of how do we add this Joy-Con to a fishing rod? Ideally, the controller would be seamless and embedded in the rod somehow, but after a ton of brainstorming, I just don't see it happening. I'd love to have the actual reel press the button, but reality strikes again. It is just not happening. Our best bet is to create a pulley system with a belt so that the reeling of the actual rod turns the handle of the controller as well. You know what? This rubber band works, I will just use that. Now, if I seriously want this to be the ultimate Big the Cat fishing rod, it might as well look the part too. Let's give it some custom paint. Get a little lure, paint that as well, and to be really extra, let's make a wood handle. And stain it, of course. For bonus style points, I would also wear this hat. But I am not wearing this thing on camera. Get out of here. Here's my dog wearing it instead. So, as you've seen from the clips, this crazy contraption does work. I even managed to catch Froggy, but it was definitely unwieldy, to say the least. Will I ever use this exact zip tie and a prayer setup again? Probably not. But now I have a cool Big the Cat themed fishing rod that I could take fishing in the real world if I wanted to, but it'll probably just hang out by my display case. Wait, who's that? Okay, before I wrap things up for real, I do have to admit something. There is a much easier way to do all of this. If you're playing the DX version of Sonic Adventure on Steam, there is an adapter that lets you directly connect a Dreamcast controller, including the fishing rod, straight to your PC. Now, I knew about this before I started my project. I even saw a Reddit post of someone using it for another fishing game. But I wanted to find a solution that worked on an actual Dreamcast, so I did all of this nonsense instead. While I'm glad I went on this unhinged little journey, this is absolutely the definitive way to do this if you're doing it yourself. And this might sound crazy, but I think I actually prefer my fishing rod to this setup. Alright, I can officially say I've done everything in my power to make the ultimate Sonic Adventure fishing experience. So, for the final time, thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you in the next one. Except, I do have one more idea, but that'll have to wait for a future video. Okay, bye for real this time. Ah! see? That's how they knew it wasn't the real outro. Because they didn't get the Zooby Zoo. Oh my god, dude, don't knock those off the table.